On this week's program, we've got our Oscar nominations stuff. I was going to say stubs. On this week's program, we've got our Oscar nominations, snubs, and surprises. What Hasbro will do with its movie universe, and why Captain America, the First Avenger, has us battling a civil war. Civil War. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back for another episode of the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being here and listening to us each and every episode, whether it's the PCC Multiverse or the Pop Culture Cosmos Show. We just cannot thank you enough for doing so. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my main man. He is the man, the myth, the legend behind Humanican Media. It is Josh Peterson. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, just checking out the old Oscar nominations. I know we're going to get to that, but yeah, I'm excited to talk about this.
And I noticed Ghost Toasters was unfortunately one of those, projects that was snubbed in the most recent nominations list.
I know, we get robbed every year, and I always send them passive-aggressive emails, and they never send anything back to me.
Better luck next year, my friend. But it's going to be a great episode we have for you today. We've got a lot of great stuff to talk about. Rob McCallum is going to be standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire. He's got a lot to talk about when it comes to Hasbro and their movie universe. Plus, also as well, Josh and I are going to be talking about Dragon Ball. There's a great game coming out this week, and I'll tell you what, it goes with a whole line of iterations for that series. Josh and I will talk a little bit more on why that series has been so enduring and just how many iterations of video games, how many iterations are there in this video game series. We'll talk about that as well coming up. Plus why Captain America, the First Avenger, well, we have a difference of opinion on that one. We thought we'd be more on the same. We thought we'd be a lot different when it came to Thor and whatnot, but Captain America, the First Avenger seems to bring out the polarity in our differences. So we'll share our thoughts on that. It was
bound to happen, man. Bound to happen sometime.
Yep. Bound to happen indeed. But it's going to be a great episode we have coming up for you today. But first, it is Oscar nominations week. They were announced. They were announced this past Tuesday, and I'll tell you what. There was a lot of great stuff going on when it comes to a lot of great and deserving nominees that were announced. Of course, leading the way was The Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro, his movie got 13 nominations in total. Our pick of the year for Best Film, Blade Runner 2049, also got several nominations as far as from a technical standpoint. That was kind of a snub as far as Best Picture, we think. That was kind of a bummer. But we've got some more snubs and surprises that really stood out to us one way or the other. So, Josh, I ask you first, my friend, what are your thoughts on the Oscar nominations? There's a lot of diversity, in my opinion. There's still a lot more work left to do in that area, but it was actually pretty good representation all across the board. But I know there were some snubs and surprises that stuck out to you. What are your thoughts on the Oscar nominations for 2018? You're on mute.
Jeez, if you wanted me to stop talking, you just said so. Yeah, so I'm surprised that Blade Runner 2049 didn't make it to Best Picture, because I know, I know you and I really like the movie. But like, there's stuff like here, like Phantom Thread, I've been hearing from a whole lot of people was not that great. Blade Runner 2049 came onto the scene. It had such great writing, great editing, great great cinematography. And I see it's nominated for some stuff down at the bottom of this list here, but the fact that it didn't make Best Picture surprises me, especially over like some of these other ones that are out here. Like, I'm glad Dunkirk is on there, but if you would have asked me what movie was better, I would have told you Blade Runner 2049. A lot of the other movies that are on here, I'm not exactly surprised they're on here. And yes, there is a lot of diversity. I'm glad to see Margot Robbie getting something for I, Tonya. Did you see that movie?
I, Tonya, no, I have not seen yet, but I have heard great things about specifically her performance. Her being Margot Robbie was truly brilliant as far as Tonya Harding. So, and I know she got a nomination for Best Actress. So maybe they were carrying that movie as she was carrying that movie all the way as far as for a nomination. But yeah, I agree with you. Blade Runner 2049 for us stood out as a premier movie event. Yes, it might have been a little bit too long, but compared to some of these other films, it just basically there was 2.5 hours of sheer brilliance that superseded any type of criticism you could throw at it, and just basically is just truly one of the best films of last year. And I'm not surprised that it didn't get nominated because it wasn't going in. It didn't have a whole lot of momentum. I think a lot of the financial endings for it, the financial actual conclusion that it didn't meet expectations, kind of think weighed into that kind of decision making for a lot of voters. So that to me was disappointing. But I know you've got a lot more to talk about when it comes to snubs and surprises as well.
Yeah. So do you know what I thought might get some kind of nomination for maybe like makeup and hair category would be It. Like that one had very good, the costume design, the makeup was good. Even like the kids and the clown especially. But like I'm surprised that didn't get nominated for anything. That really surprises me. And I'm glad to see Guillermo del Toro getting nominated for Shape of Water. It's nice to see that. What really got the snub this year was the last Transformers movie. I don't know why that. I was waiting to see how long it would take you to to look up.
That's crazy, man. Maybe sound editing, but that's
nice. Just throw on any dubstep song, you'll get the same.
There
thing.
You go. But I noticed a movie that we thought was a little bit underrated, even though the actors involved didn't really stand out, which is probably why the movie was held back. But Valerian, which was so beautiful to look at least as far as a special effects standpoint, it got nominated.
I don't think that movie was marketed right. Like it wasn't that great, but I think it got kind of the snub in the marketing. It's the same thing with Logan Lucky. I was hoping to see that on here for something.
For Daniel Craig's performance, which was truly awesome, and I thought it was well deserving of it. Yeah.
And the editing in that movie was really good too, but I don't see anyone getting no nominations for that. Baby Driver got that, and it was weird because those movies kind of came out at the same time, but I think Baby Driver was marketed a lot better and had a bigger name, Edgar Wright, behind it. And then, when Logan Lucky came out, everyone just thought that it was like a lesser Walmart version of Baby Driver, and I don't think it got the attention it deserved. Other than that, like there's a lot I'm not surprised to see on here. You got Lady Bird and Get Out and Phantom Thread. I don't even know why Phantom Thread is on this list. Like from what I understand, the movie was not that good, but I don't know who decides these things.
But Daniel Day-Lewis is a favorite amongst Oscar voters, and he said this was his last performance. So
until next year,
Until next year, yeah, I know. But they get all sentimental as far as voting process, and instead of sometimes looking at the total picture. But I am happy for Get Out. I think Get Out is well deserving of all of its nominations. I really think that is an incredible movie in and of itself. So I'm very happy about that. But you had some others as well?
No, I mean, I'm glad to see, I'm glad to see Dunkirk got on the list. Darkest Hour was good. I didn't see it. I saw Shape of Water, but I didn't see like Three Billboards or The Post or anything. I heard good things about The Post, but again, I heard it was just like every other, Tom Hanks movie that's out there. I ask you though, what are your thoughts on some of these? I know we've discussed a lot of these, in previous episodes, but where you standing on these nominations.
Well, I will say Logan not getting a Best Picture nomination is something that I was kind of disappointed in. I thought that was also one of our top 10 movies as well. Wonder Woman not getting a nomination, I'm not surprised. I know some people are. They're saying it got snubbed, but I kind of think it takes a lot of elements from a movie that we're going to be talking about later, Captain America: The First Avenger.
Can I ask you something on this real quick though? I've heard that being brought up multiple times with Wonder Woman, and while we've talked about this before, but while it was a decent flick, I don't think it had anything that stood out that would make it worthy of an Oscar, except the fact that it had a strong female lead and a strong female director.
I thought it was a pretty good movie. I thought I scored it pretty high, but I didn't score it. And in fact, I actually put it as the number 10 film that I of my choice in 2018. But be that as it may, there were still 9 films I preferred ahead of it. And I have not seen 3 Billboards. I have not seen Phantom Thread. I have not seen Shape of Water. So I can't judge all them against that were nominated against Wonder Woman. But I'm not surprised personally, because like I said, for me, it was just squeaking in as a top 10 film, because Logan Lucky for me would have been close to something like that. But it reminded me too much of the Ocean's movies as far as that's concerned. It felt too oceany, and then also a little bit too unbelievable in as far as the setup and how they pulled everything off for it to be in that upper echelon of movies, even though, like I said, Daniel Craig was so great in it. But there were some other snubs that I thought, well, one of them, I guess you could say was expected, and that's James Franco in The Disaster Artist, which I think also got snubbed as well as a film, because that is one of my top 5 films of last year. But I understand the circumstances, and I don't condone any of the actions that were reported that are allegated against James Franco. So I can see why a lot of voters were turned off by both his performance, which won a Golden Globe, and which is probably the best performance of the year from a male actor in, looking upon it. But I can understand why people didn't vote for it, and obviously the allegations against him caused him not to get a nomination, and also the movie he directed, The Disaster Artist, to not get a nomination as well. But that was kind of, so I don't know if you would call it a snub or not call it a snub. I don't know how to word that, because it's such a tricky situation you have to deal with there, because obviously you can't condone what went on if those allegations are correct. But also, like I said, Logan for me as a Best Picture nomination was a kind of a snub in my opinion.
Yeah, with James Franco, it's sad, because if the allegations aren't true, I mean, that was his shot to, get something out of that film. But no, I agree. Logan should have been on there. It had great, the editing was good, directing was good, had good sound. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of superhero movies make the Oscars, except for, Guardians of the Galaxy. That Guardians of the Galaxy was actually nominated for something before too, wasn't it? The first one?
Yeah, it was, but not anything major as far as that's concerned. These superhero movies, as of yet, have not reached through that wall of critical praise to the point where it will get nominated for a Academy Award. I even didn't think Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I actually graded higher than Wonder Woman, would actually get a nomination as well. I didn't believe that was going to. I just don't think there's any. I just don't think enough momentum was behind either movie. I know a lot of people wanted to push Wonder Woman, but I just know Wonder Woman itself as a movie, just it's there, it's close, it's in that conversation, but it's just not quite enough for to get it in there. I just don't think it really stood out enough, and I don't think it was a original enough story for it to be in that upper echelon of movies.
Yeah, like I said, like it was good, but it didn't. It's not like a Chris Nolan movie good, or we have these. What gets nominated for Best Picture and stuff at the Oscars is very, very specific, and I just even with the caliber of acting like Wonder Woman had, I don't see a superhero movie making it into these categories anytime soon, except for, you know, best sound or something like that.
Now, mind you, Logan got nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, and that's kind of like a consolation prize, but still, I thought it deserved a lot more when it came to that. And, you know, you could have even thrown Hugh Jackman's performance in that ahead of The Greatest Showman. As far as I think that was probably a better performance this year from that was a better performance in 2017 from him than The Greatest Showman, which seemed to get a lot more push as far as for him as an actor. But there were a lot of snubs and surprises that you know, both you and I thought that was really just out of place, either which one. I think The Boss Baby actually getting involved in the Best Animated Feature was getting a nomination, excuse me, in the Best Animated Feature was really a surprise, seeing how the Lego Batman movie and a couple others were actually thought of higher than what was represented by The Boss Baby, because I don't know, just that seems to be a running joke all week long since it got nominated.
Yeah, I mean, the critical praise for Boss Baby was very high, and it was just because it was one of those movies that you can take your kids to see, and then also it had jokes that are aimed at adults too that your kids wouldn't pick up on. I think it reached more audiences than they planned on reaching, and it's endured. You know, as for Logan, I think that Hugh Jackman, you know, as far as character development goes, like, he showed more depth in his acting in Logan than he did in The Greatest Showman. And it was one of those movies that it wasn't really a superhero movie. It's more of a noir film. And I would classify that as a type of art. And it's a shame, you know, like you said, that it didn't get the recognition it deserves, especially since, you know, chances are Marvel will find a way to fill his pockets for another outing in the claws. But
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. But like, it's just such a shame because it's such a unique piece of cinema that, you know, it's not going to get the recognition it deserves.
But there were a lot of snubs and surprises in this year's list of Oscar nominations for 2018. I know Josh and I will be going over those nominations with a fine-tooth comb coming up in the weeks ahead as it leads up into the Oscars. And just before the Oscars get announced, I know Josh and I are going to come back on the show and also make sure we give our thoughts on who should win. You know, maybe not who will win, but who should win these, you know, the Oscars for 2018 in each of the major categories. We'll be giving our thoughts on that in an upcoming episode as it gets closer to the big day. What are your thoughts on the Oscar nominations for 2018? Were there any surprises in your mind? Were there any movies or performances or technical or directorial or directorial or anything else in the nominations that stuck out? Or did you see something that got snubbed that you really feel strongly should have been nominated? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, we've got another great episode for you. Like I said, we've got Rob McCallum standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire and a whole lot more. And Josh later on and I will battle out in our own Captain America Civil War as we talk about the first Captain America movie, The First Avenger. All that and a lot more. But first, we've got our good friend, Elijah Harrison, better known as Plasma Z, and this is Mango, and this is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. Thank you for sticking with us. We truly appreciate it. Josh, before I head into all the different ways that you can catch our programs here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, please let us know what's going on with your awesome channel known as Humanica Media.
Ooh, channel is such a harsh word these days because of YouTube. decided
How
to.
about network? How about network?
Network seems, yeah, okay, all right, I can deal with that.
Experience.
Experience, I like that one. Not in 3D though, because yeah. Anyways, I just put out an episode of What About This Today. Episode 15's out, and they're talking about the old indie film versus blockbuster as far as the future of cinema goes. It's a pretty interesting episode. We got new Topic Apocalypse coming out tomorrow. Honestly, the audio, we had a little audio faux pas with the last episode, not the one that you were on, but the one before that. And you listen to it, but we'll do better next time, I promise. Inside Sports, new episode will be up tomorrow. And then we have the new Super BS cast on Tuesday night. And it looks like Brian just posted an interview he had with, somebody from a indie developer company. You have to look into that. I'm sorry, I'm not flipping through my pages here fast enough. Anyways, yeah, that's all. You can check us out Tuesday nights, still on the Podcast Radio Network. And that's it, man.
That's right. That's Attack of the Humanitans every Tuesday night on the Podcast Radio Network, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. As far as the PCC Multiverse, you can check us out on the Podcast Radio Network, Croc Radio, Good Talk Radio, Western Digital Broadcasting, and also you can download that show. You can download our show, the PCC Multiverse, on any of these formats. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, the Tangent Bound Network, the ESO Network, the Gunny Geek Network, and we're on over a dozen more podcast options, including, as Josh pointed out to me this week, we're now on Podbean. So you can check us out by typing in a search on Podbean, Pop Culture Cosmos. It comes right up. And you get both of our shows, our Monday show, which is the Pop Culture Cosmos, or the PCC Multiverse. And if you download our shows, we always throw in a bonus there just for listening. But you also can hear our live streaming options on Good Talk Radio, Croc Radio, Western Digital Broadcasting, and the Podcast Radio Network. And for schedules and times on those great shows, just check out our Facebook page, Pop Culture Cosmos. It's pinned right there for you, and it tells you all the days and times we are streamed live on the air. We are streamed live on the air. So, Josh, I made an error in our last show.
Oh no.
Yeah, that I did. I only mentioned 2 of the video game releases this week in the game Monster Hunter World, and in the games Monster Hunter World, and also as well Mutant League Football. But there was another major release coming out this week that everybody needs to know about. And maybe I take it for granted because a lot of people in the gaming industry take it for granted because it is just, I'll say it. I'll come out and say it right now. I think it's the Energizer Bunny of video game iterations. And the reason why I'm saying that, it is the Dragon Ball series with Dragon Ball FighterZ coming out this weekend for all the major platforms that are coming out. For all the major platforms. And I'll tell you what, it comes in a long, and I mean long, line of iterations in the Dragon Ball series. And as someone who knows anime like Josh, I know he's excited for it. And Josh, I just want to ask, okay, you and I both have become somewhat familiar with the Dragon Ball series over the years, but did you know, depending on who you talk to, depending on what site you read, or depending on what information you get, this could be anywhere from the 90th to the 96th different iteration of the Dragon Ball series in a video game, arcade, or computer game format.
I was unaware of that, but it doesn't surprise me. I loved Dragon Ball when I was a kid. Even through high school. When I was 23 and I went out and bought the entire series. So yeah, I'm a Dragon Ball fan. But it doesn't surprise me that they have that, because I know I've talked to different people. They had a lot of Dragon Ball Z games on the original PlayStation and PlayStation 2, and I knew friends who would go out and they'd buy the little computer chips and put it in their PlayStation so they could play the imported versions. And I know a lot of people who bought these games just because they had story pieces and original animations that weren't in the original Dragon Ball. So they wanted to see all these characters that were there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't see why having so many games is a bad thing. And this new one looks fun. If it's managed to stay alive this long and they're still making new games, obviously it's selling. But I'm curious to know. I might even pick one of these games up because I know Xenoverse just came out on Nintendo Switch. Have you played any of these? You ever picked up the old Dragon Ball?
I'll put it to you like this, Josh. As I told you way back in the day, in around 2007, 2008, I used to run game stores. And I had someone come up to me one time and ask, do you happen to have the latest Dragon Ball video game? And I said, well, what Dragon Ball iteration are you looking for? I don't know. What Dragon Ball games are out right now? Well, let me go into a few. Did you want Dragon Ball? Did you want Dragon Ball Z? Did you want Dragon Ball Z Budokai? Did you want Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi? Did you want Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3? Did you want Dragon Ball GT? Did you want Dragon Ball Z Sagas? Did you want Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi? Did you want Super Dragon Ball Z? The list goes on and on.
Are you assuming that all Dragon Ball fans talk with high-pitched voices?
Well, no. Maybe I had some helium before we started the podcast.
Safe assumption.
Safe assumption, indeed. But there's just so many different iterations that are out there. Yes, I have had a chance to give it a whirl, but to keep up with that series is almost impossible, because to have played the entire series is even harder, because from arcades to PC to handhelds to mobile to consoles to you name it, it's just been all over the place. But the Dragon Ball series lives on and lives on strong as Dragon Ball FighterZ hits consoles this weekend. And I like you said, Josh is interested in trying it. I'm actually interested in trying it too. So if you're a fan of the Dragon Ball series, as we are with the anime, and just I think the series as a whole was one of the first standouts in the anime field, and the animations that you get when you're in the middle of the fight, it just truly a hallmark of the series. And I've just enjoyed it over the years myself. So, and I know Josh has as well. So if you get a chance, give Dragon Ball FighterZ a try. And if you haven't delved into any of the Dragon Ball series before and you're looking for a great place to start, just start anywhere, because there's so many of them out there. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of great games, some stinkers in there too, but it gives you the idea about what games, basically when you play them, it gives you the idea why the Dragon Ball series is so beloved and why the series has maintained so strong, has been so consistently under the radar, but still selling very strongly each time out, and why there's still a demand for Dragon Ball series games, no matter what series it is, at least today. Any last thoughts on the Dragon Ball series? Tenkaichi, Budokai Tenkaichi, Sagas, any other? Yeah.
I probably won't go running out to buy any new ones anytime soon. But I always thought that it'd be cool if they had like an open world Dragon Ball game where you just fly all over the map and go do different things. Like, that would be something, and I would definitely jump back into that series to play something like that.
So that's Josh Peterson, developer of the 97th iteration of the Dragon Ball series. No, I'm just kidding. But you're right. There's a lot of great ways that Dragon Ball series has been over the years. And like I said, when I used to run the game stores, we would have almost literally a row of games dedicated to the Dragon Ball series, and that's why it's just been so popular over the years in Japan, but also has maintained a strong foothold in the North American and also European markets. And it looks like this beloved series is going to continue for it's going to continue for some time to come. Share us your thought. Oh, so I can't do that too early. So what are your thoughts on the Dragon Ball series? Do you still follow it today? Have you played any of the almost 100 different iterations that are out there? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. When we come back, we're going to be talking the revival of a accessory brand which we thought was long dead, but it has returned. We're talking Mad Catz from CES 2018. This is okay. And right after, Josh and I will be having our civil war over Captain America, the First Avenger. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We thank you for sticking with us, and we appreciate you for standing by. And I'll tell you what, I want to thank my good friend Rob McCallum for being on the show in the Cosmic Crossfire and sharing his thoughts. Also, as well, Big Baby from the Big Baby representing Mad Catz to tell us exactly what's going on with the future and revival of this game accessory brand, which, yes, it does have its fans and does have its champions and did have a little bit of the opposite as well, depending on who you spoke to. But it's nice to see this company getting back off the ground again and being part of the video game culture. So, Josh, as part of our continuing series and breakdown of the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, leading into Black Panther, and of course, coming up in May, also as well, the Avengers Infinity War. Speaking of Avengers, we're talking about the first one himself. We're up to Captain America, the First Avenger. Josh, you and I have quite a bit of a difference of opinion. We thought we had one in Thor, although when I first started talking about Thor, we did have quite a bit of a difference of opinion on Thor, but over the years, you've kind of mellowed on it, especially because of Thor Ragnarok. Well, with me, I think Captain America, the First Avenger is a pretty solid film, and I also think it's a very, very easy watch. And I like I said before, Wonder Woman takes a lot of its elements from Captain America, the First Avenger, in my opinion, as far as the way it structured its movie when she left her island. So I ask you, Josh, you have quite a bit of a difference than I do on Captain America, the First Avenger. I rate it fairly high on my list in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which you can find on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. But you have a difference of opinion on Captain America, the First Avenger.
Yeah, so I liked it a lot when it first came out, but then, Captain America, the Winter Soldier came out, and then, I was like, dang, so that's what a Captain America movie can be like. So now anytime I go back to watch the First Avenger, I don't feel, it feels more it feels so comic-y to me that I can't, it just is lacking that realism that a lot of the Phase 2 movies have. And maybe, it's just a product of the time, perhaps.
I think that's why you're thinking that, is because it is based in World War II as opposed to a modern day setting where he still looks like he can go ahead and be very, he can match up very well against those who oppose him. So right. I am willing to go ahead and separate the two, but it's obviously you and a lot of other people can't as well.
Yeah. And this is just me. I've always struggled with, you know, I know this is his comic origins, and he came out during World War II as kind of a you know, a hope signal for kids and stuff like that. But you know, when it comes to like World War II stuff in movies, like I always feel I don't want to say like it's disrespectful, but like it's just lacking that you know, that emotional realism that like a war movie should have. So like they're kind of making light of World War II, and I get that. You know, I have no problems with what they're doing, but it's hard for me to watch to have a movie that changes genres like that. You know, you go from the superhero to the World War II genre. So I'm like, it's hard to make that switch for me, especially, you know, after seeing movies like Saving Private Ryan and
Yeah, just what I was going to say. It's not Saving
Yeah.
Private Ryan in that opening sequence. I mean, that is one of the most impactful 15 minutes I've ever seen in my life the first time I saw that in theaters. But it is not that, and I'm not going to try and tell you that. But Captain America, the First Avenger, for me, tells a simplistic, easy to watch story that doesn't go out of its way to try do much except for tell the basic premise of how Captain America came to be. And for me, as someone who has seen Captain America go on and become, you know, so much greater in our modern time frame with the Avengers and the Winter Soldier and also Civil War, and obviously his other appearances as well with Ultron and whatnot, I just feel like I'm able to differentiate the two a little bit more. And I see it as this is his humble beginnings. And I think it tells a nice, neat, wrapped in a bow story of how he came to be. But that's just me. I kind of like it. I kind of dig it. Whenever it came on FX, I always watched it still. And for me, it's also, you know, just an easy watch with the kids and whatnot. But I can see why you think it is just so hard to watch, seeing his, you know, his great performances in the Winter Soldier primarily, and also Ultron, Avengers, and Civil War. I know a lot of people like Civil War as well. So be that as it may, I think there's a little bit of a different opinion. It's like Thor, like you said, Thor has changed over the years, because when you watch Thor Ragnarok, it defeats a lot of what Thor does. The same thing with the Captain America movies that have followed it, that have followed the first Avenger, that a lot what has been done in those movies kind of takes away from what was done in the first Avenger. Like I said, I still can be able to differentiate the two, but I can understand why someone can't, or in this case, you are not able to, and why it is not as appealing to you as it once was.
Right. And, you know, I'm not saying I don't like it. I'll go back and watch it. It's easier for me to go back and rewatch that than is the Incredible Hulk. You know, there's just, you know, looking back as like a film critic, like, you know, looking back on stuff now, I see like, you know, I feel like Hugo Weaving, like there was so much more they could have gotten out of that story. Like the Red Skull is a huge villain for Cap, and chances are we're never going to see him again. You know, and then there was what's his name? They didn't really explain like what happened to the short guy, Zol something. What's his name?
Oh, Zola. Dr.
Zola. And they just kind of assumed like there was no bridge to show how he got involved with Shield. They kind of talk about it a little bit more, but I would have liked to see maybe like a little Easter egg there if they're.
Well, it is mentioned in the Winter Soldier briefly how he was recruited by Shield to work with them, given almost like an ultimatum to work with it. But you know, when we talk about the Winter Soldier, his actual what he was there to do and what he ultimately did were two very different things. But
Right.
But be that as it may, you know, I can understand why. And actually, it just feels like it's a shorter movie. It probably isn't, but it feels like it's a shorter movie than the others in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it just seems like it just goes right from A to Z really quickly for me, anyways. But I definitely feel that the first Avenger still stands up, you know, fairly well when I watch it every single time. But I can understand why, if somebody really appreciates the Captain America of now, that they can't really they can't really enjoy the Captain America in the first Avenger. What are your thoughts on Captain America, the First Avenger? Do you still like it after all these years, or do you think after so many appearances by Captain America in the modern setting that seeing him in its World War II, or seeing him in his World War II origin is just not the same as it once was? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, Josh, it's been another great episode. Do you have any last thoughts before we head on out?
No, I'm actually about to finish Rise of the Tomb Raider. Got on pause here, so
hurry up, Gerald. Yeah, hurry up, Gerald.
No. I mean, I'll tell you my thoughts on this game next time we talk.
Yeah, fair enough. Only a couple years after it released, but we won't go there. But it is definitely a great game, and I'm glad he's enjoying it, and glad he's finally getting a chance to play it. And I hope everyone out there does as well. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.